Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another RMA Fire tutorial. So, today we're going to be talking about how to populate environments in art directable and super controllable um, ways in Houdini. So, a technique that I use a lot, I like to grab this specific geometry and paint this the places that I'm gonna isolate and copy geometry onto those spots. So this is something that you can utilize for populating forests, for populating gardens, or just to paint moss, to grab like say a spaceship and paint the places where you want the plants to bloom, flowers to bloom. So this is just a very art controllable, very cool way of adding variation to your scenes and to your copies. So we're gonna be diving into first isolating the points on the geometry where we're gonna be copying things to. Second, how to randomize and copy multiple or infinite different options of geometry onto these points. So my example, I'm gonna be using an asset, say a flower or something that I downloaded from Megascans, and Megascans adds different variations to this flower. So say it's got 10 variations. So at first, I wasn't when I if you weren't thinking Houdini, you wouldn't really be super sure what to do with all of these variations. But in this case, we have 10 different plants, and we're gonna grab these 10 different plants and copy them randomly on our point number using a simple stamp function. And then we're gonna take that to the next level by applying simple expressions for transforming our geometry, our plants randomly throughout the entire point. And then we're gonna add another level of complexity, randomizing the scale, and you will finish this tutorial with the knowledge needed to randomize whatever variable you want. So whatever parameter that shows up on your geometry, you'll be able to randomize it. For example, color. Make 1,000 plants, 1,000 different colors, each of them different. You can randomize, um, obviously, like the rotation, the scale are the normal things that you would randomize. But this opens the door to basically any parameter, and we'll be talking about that. Alright, guys. So inside of Houdini, I imported a couple objects from Megascans. So the first object is this basic rock. The second object, it's a rock which I'm gonna use the albedo path so that we can see the texture. Has a little bit of moss, so it's a little bit more appropriate for what we're doing here. And just for the sake of demonstration, I am gonna just load one more object. So I'm just gonna hit file. I'm not sure what object I'm gonna add. Let's see what I have here on my an eagle, maybe. Let's see if this is actually an eagle. Yeah, it is. So let's just place it properly. In here. And this is basically, once we finish, just for the sake of demonstration of what you can do with this effect that I'm gonna teach you. So let's work with this one. The first thing I'm gonna do is put our UV quick shade aside and lay down a paint. I'm gonna connect into the paint, and then you are gonna hit enter on the viewport. Then you can scale this up, and we're gonna set that to a color red. and we are going to paint with red. And you gotta make sure it's red because it's gonna be the expression that we're gonna use next. So we're gonna just paint a couple of spots in red. So the red is going to define, and then white. The red will define where our plants are gonna grow. So what we can do next is a delete based on expression $CR CB. So that basically isolates the spot of red that I selected. And now I'm gonna scatter points. Let's reduce the amount of points a little bit, and we are gonna scale the radii just a tiny bit so that the points feel a little bit closer. If you hit D on the keyboard on the geometry, you can increase the point size a little bit so it's easier to see. Okay, now let's see what we got. We've got this flower that I imported also from Megascans, and I want my center axis, my pivot, to just be at the very origin. So select attach to geometry so that you can move it, place it on the very origin on the bottom, and then attach to the geometry. And then the other thing that I want to do is attribute delete, and I want to get rid of the CD just because I don't know, it just kind of bothers me sometimes to see that color there. And I'm gonna copy and paste, and since this is from Megascans, we've got a couple different versions. So I have version 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's no 4. So 3, 2, and 1. We can get rid of that. So now what we want to tell Houdini is that we want to randomly copy this into the points that we have here. So we're gonna do a copy stamp. We're gonna put points in here, and then we're gonna connect this into our left. But we're gonna need a switch. Select them all, connect them to the switch, and connect our switch here. Now, once we select this, we're gonna see that it does not work. It's copying the same plant over and over. And by the way, we're gonna want to reduce the scale to 0.05. 2. Okay, so as you can see, this is definitely not working. Okay, so what we need to do is on here, we're gonna come into a stamp, we're gonna stamp the inputs, and we're gonna pack the geometry before stamping, just so that we make our lives much easier. Let me just double check something here. And oh yeah, see how that's why. Let's just move century to origin. Now they should be copied directly onto the points. Let me just come here. I just feel like sometimes when we have just bear with me for a second. I just like the pivot to be on the bottom of the plant. so that that pivot, that point right there, that's gonna be the bottom. So it uses that spot right here to place that on top of the point. So if we align that properly, the copying takes place there, right? So it's much more convenient for us. Okay, so that's one. That one's working. I'm gonna do the same to this one. Perfect. Let me just copy this onto these last two versions. So there we go. And lastly, there we go. So all of our stamps are working now. There we go. Boom. Done. Just kidding. Okay. So let's just make sure that our rotations are at the 0. And and the reason why our plants are looking like that is because if we have a look at the normals, they are facing the direction which the normal faces. But first, before we fix that, let's go ahead and tell Houdini that we want to stamp all of these ones randomly in there. So in our variable number 1, we're gonna just write var, and our expression is gonna be at ptnum, and then we're gonna set a modulus of whatever number we're putting here. So if this is 3, then we would put 3 here. So 3, 4, and 5. Modulus of 5. And the second thing that we need to do is tell this stamp right here that we want a stamp, and then we want to open up parentheses, dot dot slash copy number 1, because that's the copy that we're using right now. Close that. Then we want to do that and put var, because that is the name of the variation that we're doing, and the 0, and enter. And that expression right there, it's going to randomly place the plants. Now as you can see, they're all random. Okay, now I want my normal to face upwards here. So let's just make all of these normals using a wrangle, and we are going to tell Houdini normal is equal to 0, 1. I think it's 1, 0, 1. Let's see if that does the trick. And there we go. Now our normals are facing upwards, and that means that all of our plants are being copied facing up. See? Okay, so now if we want to test this just to make sure that things are working for now, I'm going to merge this with our initial piece and turn this off. And as you can see, we have something that's starting to look okay. Now what I need to do is come into our copy stamp, and we can add all sorts of variations like I spoke about at the beginning of the tutorial. So now what we're going to do is randomize the rotation. And to randomize our rotation, we are going to tell Houdini to fit this between a 0 and 1, open up this parenthesis, and we want to randomize based on our PT, and then I want to close this parenthesis. Um, we're gonna do a 0, a 1, close parenthesis, and multiply this by 180 degrees. So we're fitting between a 0 and a 1 a random number of the PT of our points, and multiplying that by 180 degrees. That means that I am going to apply a random rotation here to every single one of the plants. So to do that, right here, we want to tell Houdini, okay, we're stamping this. So stamp. Then we're gonna open this. We're gonna add the parentheses and we're gonna say copy. And the copy. Oops, sorry guys. So we want to do dot dot slash, and then we're gonna say copy. The number of the copy is the number 1, because see, copy number 1, and then we're gonna close that, and then we're gonna open it up again and tell Houdini that this is our rotation. Okay, and then after we tell Houdini that this is our rotation, we're gonna set it to a 0 and close the parentheses, and then we're gonna multiply it by a random number. So that means that that one's working. We're gonna copy this expression and paste it here. Boom. Now this is working right here as well. And then I'm gonna multiply this by a different number. So say 4. And we're gonna do the same thing on the rest of our transforms. And then we're gonna randomize that number. So that's 2, 5, 6. Okay. So now we have random rotations on each of them. Now what we want to do is have randomized scale as well. So in order to get our scale randomized, I'm gonna tell Houdini. Actually, before we do that, let me save, because I'm gonna upload this project file onto our desktop and say painting plants. And then what I want to do is use a UV quick shade right here so that we can see the color of the plants. It's gonna make things a little bit easier to visualize. And we're gonna select textures, billboard, and albedo. Actually, it's the Atlas albedo. There we go. So now that's working for this plant. I'm gonna reset this, and I'm actually gonna place this transform one more time because it's being funky. There we go. And the stamping expression. Okay. So this and of course I can add it here, but I want to have control if I were to add different colors to each of them. Okay, so now let's visualize this here. And there is a mismatch of attributes. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now we have the first plant, which is working. Now we're gonna randomize their scale. So come here, and we're gonna set an attribute randomize, and we're gonna tell Houdini I want to randomize the P scale, and we're gonna randomize it between a 0.5 and a 1. So that gives us randomized plants. Let me save. You see, if I open up a new view, then I can see both of them. Sometimes I get that bug on my box, but now I can see both of the UV quick shades. And I'll show you guys how cool this is. Once we have it set up, we can come into our paint, select enter here, and just begin to paint plants. Now I'm not getting a lot. Let me go back and let me increase the amount of points that we're scattering. And now once I begin to paint, if I were to middle click and paint, I'm gonna be painting in white. So that means that I'm deleting plants. And if we want, we can come here and just do that. Come back here, and there we go. That seems to be working. Now the cool thing is that you can add whatever plant you want to this setup. So if we wanted to change this plant for any kind of geometry really, but let me show you an example with some other plant. Something like grass. Connect that. Now we have to tell this that now we have 6 different objects. And there we go. We begin to get some very nice looking forests. Now that we're here, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm gonna finish painting this red like that, not here. Not here, and not far there, but up to there is fine, and then in here too, something like that. Let's see what we get. That's looking pretty cool. Now since we're in Houdini, as you guys know, let me just save, we can procedurally change the object on the top. So if we wanted to change this to that, then we can just paint whatever sections we want and it would get this effect. I mean, you can paint this, and the reason why I brought in the eagle is because if we just reduce the amount of polys and we paint in there and we connect this, then it will work perfectly. Actually, we don't even need to reduce the amount of poly. I just don't like to work with such heavy things sometimes because I'm actually rendering on this box as we speak. So let me just reverse that. Let me paint, because the same paint sub at the bottom, it's not gonna work because this is a different object. But I just want to paint a section like that, connect it to our delete, and then run it through this, and there we go. We got some plants growing on this eagle. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave comments if you guys want to see something different. Let me know if the quality of the audio has improved. I got a microphone and I think that things are working a little bit better. And thank you very much for watching. And just before I leave, the reason why these ones are doing that is because of their normals on our setup are pointing upwards, which is what we designed for the grass. So we would want to have our normals being pointing in the right direction right here, wherever we want. So wherever we want the point of our geometry to be copied and the position of the plants to be facing. But that is a subject for a different topic. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back with more.